Hello and welcome to Monsters Miss Mayhem. I about messed that up,
Uh-huh.
but I caught myself in my head.
Uh-huh.
About did the Archetype Apocalypse intro.
Silver has a clear favorite.
No, it's just been
No,
a
Silver has a
week or
clear
two.
favorite.
Nah. I'm not even sure why I do the intro to those. Mage takes care of everything.
Well,
I shouldn't push that onto him. So, it is now November. We are no longer in October. But I want to finish our October specials.
yes.
Since life gets in the way sometimes.
Correct.
So Chaotic,
Yes.
who is my co-host, as I am
Yes.
Silver.
Yes. Process of elimination.
Well, Chaotic,
Yes.
what do you have for us today?
I have an original fairy tale. We know it by another name, but the fairy tale I'm going to tell you is called Sun, Moon, and Talia. This is the story of Sleeping Beauty,
Ooh,
the original. It's very dark, very sadistic. I will let everybody know that it has trigger warnings in it. There is accounts of death. There is accounts of rape, and there is accounts of children in danger. So there's some trigger warnings for you this story time. And yeah, if you're ready, I'll just jump into the story.
yeah, this is one I have not heard of.
You've never heard this?
No,
Okay,
I
well, that's good
haven't.
to know. So I'm gonna kind of read like the story that I have. It's not super long, but it's kind of in paragraphs, so I'll shorten up and gangsterify as we did last time. Um, there once lived a great lord who was blessed with the birth of a daughter. That daughter's name was Talia. He sent for the wise men and astrologers to predict her future. They all met, they all came together, and they cast her horoscope, and at length came to the conclusion that she would incur of a great danger due from a splinter of flax. Her father therefore forbade any flax, hemp, or other material that was brought into the house. Like, he was like, no, 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 we ain't doing that shit. So she could escape the predestined danger. One day when Talia was like, "Ooh, I'm super pretty. I've grown into a young lady," which we all know back then was like 16 years old, if that. She was looking out of a window and she sees an old woman who is spinning. So she's creating, if you guys don't know what spinning is, she's just kind of creating a like a wool or woven or like a piece of art, kind of like what we talked about that Athena did a while ago. We talked about how she spun different creative processes, and she decides to like go out and see her because she has never seen anybody spin before, because obviously the distaffs or spindles were not allowed in her house, nor was flax or anything like that. And she took the distaff from the old lady's hand and started to like stretch the flax out. I bet you guys can guess what happened next. She got a splinter. So her dad hears about this. Okay, like she's like, oh shit. The girl fell to the ground. So our Sleeping Beauty, our Talia, is dead on the ground. Just bloop, right down. The old lady's like, help, help. This lady just fell. The dad's like, oh no, it's happened. So he lays her out in one of his country areas. He has like a velvet throne for her. He like closes the doors and like abandons the house. It's just like, yeah, yeet. There's a king that lives in the lands, and he's like out hunting, and he passes that general area one day. And upon passing that general area, he comes to the door and knocks because, he's like, what up? One of his falcons escaped and like went up to the house. It didn't want to leave the house. He was like, come back. And it was like, nah, dog, there's something in here. So they end up going up to the door. They're like, hello, is anybody here? Nobody's there, obviously. He enters the house, breaking and entering, big vibes, and finds Talia. She's enchanted. She's asleep. She's still very young, very beautiful, kind of like frozen in time. He picks her up. He meets this girl who's essentially dead, in a coma, just kind of frozen in time, and is like, oh my god, this is so fucking attractive. I don't know what else to do with my life. And just takes her to bed and rapes her. Sleeps with her without her obvious consent because she is irrevocably asleep. and goes back to his kingdom after leaving her on this bed. Just leaving her in the house on the bed, dusty as shit. Like, anyways, after 9 months, Talia delivers 2 babies while still in a coma. There's a boy and a girl, and there are two fairies who come there and help them kind of get to their mom so that they can feed. So, like, up on her chest, obviously. One of the kids actually, they miss the chest and they're sucking at her fingers because they, like babies, they'll suck at anything if they think it's a boob. And they pull the splinter flax out on accident. So she wakes up, sees her 2 babies. She ends up feeding them the way they need to be fed. And she's all by herself. Doesn't know what happened to her. Doesn't notice anything. And she doesn't like see any attendants. She's like worried. She's like, I don't know what's going on. So the king comes back after going hunting, and he finds her awake, and he finds the 2 babies. He's super excited about it. He's like, this is baller. And he tells her about what happened, and she's like, oh, great. We can be the best of friends, which is absolutely fucking wild to me. He is like, okay, now I've got to go again, and I'll be back, and I'll bring you to my kingdom. Don't worry. So he goes back to his realm. He's super restless. He's missing Talia and Sun and Moon, who are now the children's names. She woke up, named them Sun and Moon, just so you guys know. So the king, who has a wife, the wife is like, this is really weird. You go hunting some weird times. Like, this is fucking odd, right? Because, we be knowing in all forms. It don't matter if it's today. It doesn't matter if there's cell phones or not. We know. So she goes to a dude and is like, hey, I know that you're like between a rock and a hard place. But will you let me know what's going on, or I'll kill you? And the dude's like, oh, fuck. I didn't mean to be like, oh, that sucks. So he is like, here, I'm just going to tell you everything. Here you go. She finds out about this, sends the dude to Talia, and is like, hey, I need you and I need the cook to kill Talia and these 2 babies, cook them into a dish, and then feed them to my husband. The cook is like, I'm not going to do that. That's not going to happen. And he takes them home to his wife and is like, hey, please hide these guys. When the king comes home, the queen gives him the food and is like, ha ha ha, like, this, blah, 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 this is the kids. But she doesn't know that the kids are safe. And the king is super excited. He's like, wow, this tastes so good. And the queen is like, eat. You're eating of your own. The king doesn't notice anything. He's like, yeah, whatever. And then finally, after like the 50th time of her saying it, he's like, why do you keep fucking saying this? Because you bring nothing into this house. I know it's of my own. I'm the only one who makes money here, ho. So there's like a whole thing he's upset about. And the queen is like, you're not understanding me. Like, you don't understand. You're eating your children. Okay. You're eating the kids. And anyways, Talia gets a message during all of this that is like, oh my god, the king misses you so much. He needs you. Here's the kingdom. Come get it. So Talia goes to him and is like, oh my god, look, here we're here. And the queen, when Talia gets there at this present moment, because she's, been on her way this whole time, is like, oh, here you go. Here's your busybody. Here's your fine piece of goods. Your ill weed who's been enjoying my husband, my lump of filth, the cruel bitch, causing my head to spin. This is in the story. Let me just tell you, these are not my dirty non-compliments, okay? I just need you to know that this is some shit that's actually been said. Talia is like, oh my god, I had no idea I was hated. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know I had haters. And she gets upset and she's trying to cry and she's like, I gotta go. The queen is like, I'm not listening to your excuses. Like, I know you told me that you were asleep and that like you didn't know what was going on, but I don't give a fuck. So she had a large fire built in the middle of the palace and is like, hey, let's burn this bitch. So the queen is trying to kill Talia at this moment. And Talia goes, the queen's like, hey, you need to get undressed and, just give me all of your shit because you're going to die anyways. And so she takes it all off. She removes it with a scream. She takes off her robe, her skirt, her bodice, her shift. She was removing her last garment when she uttered a scream louder than the rest. They dragged her towards the pile and reduced her to lye ashes, which would be used to wash Charon's breeches. That's intense. The king, who appears at this very moment. This man just decided he knew what the fuck was happening. Shows up and is like, whoa. Okay, whoa. I am the wolf of my own sweet lambs. Why did you do these? Why did these veins not have the fountains of their own blood? You renegade bitch. That's exactly what he says. What evil deed is this in which you have done? Begone, you shall get your dessert as the stumps, and I will not send such a tyrant-faced one to the Colosseum for her penance. So he commands the queen be cast into the fire instead, right? That she had prepared for Talia, and the secretary with her, because he's a bitch snitch, okay? He's not about it. He was going to do the same with the cook, who he'd believed had slaughtered the children, but the man was like, hey, in truth, I just hid these motherfuckers. This is not real. I did not do this. So he gets to live. And dude's like, oh, okay, like, he's fine. That's great. My kids are alive. That's awesome. And so while the king is speaking this, the cook's wife, seeing her husband's needs, brings forth the children, sun and moon, before their father. And he never tired of playing the game of three with his wife and children, making a mill wheel of kisses, now with one and one with the other. So he has Talia now, he has the kids, he's all set to go. Queen was sent into the fucking ashes. And all of this because a dude saw a sleeping girl and was like, I gotta have it. All of that. And the insults that the queen throws is insane. The insults that he threw are insane. The way they were just constantly calling each other wretches and bitches is wild to me. But all of that, to sum it up, she falls asleep because shit happens anyways. Dad's like, you know what? I'm not fucking dealing with it. She's a fucking lazy bitch. She's not helping me on the farm. I'm just going to leave her here and leave. So he leaves. King shows up on a hunt and is like, hey, you know what sounds good? Checking out this house that my falcon won't leave. Oh, look, there's a pretty girl inside. Oh, look, she's irrevocably asleep. Oh, look, let me sleep with her. So he sleeps with her. She has children while asleep. Her body pushes out not one, two babies. And then those two babies are like, what's this weird splinter in your finger? And suck it out. She wakes up. She's like, oh, look, babies. Queen finds out. Queen sends for the kids. Almost kills them. Cook hides them. Secretary's a bitch. Goes and gets Talia. Talia comes up. She makes Talia strip in front of everybody after calling her a bitch. Let me just tell you that. A bitch. And then the king shows up in the last second and is like, you know what? Just throw that bitch in the fire. And no, I don't mean Talia. So he throws his ex-wife in the fire. She's an ex-wife now. She may not have been when she was thrown in the fire, but by the time the fire was done, she was an ex-wife. And then gets ready to throw the cook in, and the cook's like, you know what? I didn't think this was the thanks I got for saving your fucking kids. And then the wife brings out the kids, and they're like, oh, look, rejoice. And they're all happily ever after. Even though she was asleep. 90% of the story. Yep, that's it.
Talia and the cook are the only good ones in the story.
Yes. And it was the way. Hang on, let me show you. I'm gonna read off exactly what the cook said. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
In truth, my lord, for such a deed, there should be nothing else than a pile of living fire, and no other help than a spear from behind, and no other entertainment than twisting and turning with the blazing fire. And I should seek no other honor than to have my ashes, the ashes of a crook, mixed with queens. But this is not the reward that I expect for having saved the children, in spite of the gall of that bitch, who wanted to kill them and return to your body what was which of your own body. That's it. That bitch. Dude, their insults are like, I need to like study them.
They are classy insults.
Classy insults. You want to send a proper work email? I got y'all.
Do you know the origin of this story? Where it's from?
Yes, actually.
Because Talia makes it sound like it's, I'm not sure, almost Russian?
It is an Italian literary fairy tale by Giambattista Basile.
For some reason, the insults do feel classic Italian translations.
Yeah, and imagine these Italian people streaming these things. I'd be terrified.
I'm glad Disney changed some stuff up.
Yeah, for sure, my guy. For sure. Got a little fucking crazy in there.
Yeah, Disney, there's no kids, unless you count the dwarfs. Oh, no, I'm thinking of Snow White, aren't I? This is Sleeping Beauty.
Yep, this is Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, I don't remember Sleeping Beauty's Disney. I don't think I watched that one.
Sleeping Beauty's Disney is the one where the fairies are taking care of her out in the woods. She was like left there as an orphan. So the fairies are taking care of her and they turn her dress from pink to blue to pink to blue to pink to blue. And then she goes to the castle and Maleficent shows up and Maleficent's like, oh, you're going to prick your finger on a spindle. And then she does it and she faints and she's like out for eternity. And then Prince Philip shows up and he kisses her and then they fight Maleficent as a dragon.
Okay. I think I'm more familiar with the story through the Disney's Maleficent, not through actual
It's the same
Sleeping
story.
Beauty.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. Because in that story, she like takes care of Aurora.
Yeah.
But no, Maleficent's against her in the original Disney one. So we're going to have a movie night. You're going to watch the original fucking Disney princesses. The ones that are like maybe 30 minutes long because they were short as shit.
Were they short?
Yeah.
I guess animation back then, that was pretty long.
Let me actually look at the length.
See, I just typed in my Google search the exact wrong princess again. I typed in Cinderella instead of Sleeping Beauty.
Snow White was an hour 27, so that one was long. 75 minutes. The original Sleeping Beauty is very short.
Still an hour and 15.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I ever watched the original. I liked your telling of it.
Thanks.
Especially the insults, the original insults.
They're fantastic.
At least the queen got her comeuppance, and maybe the king will too later. At least the baker didn't get thrown in the oven.
True.
So we kind of talked a little about the media, the Maleficent and Sleeping Beauty, Disney. Is there any others that you can think of?
I mean, she appears in like Shrek. She's hilarious in Shrek. She just like falls asleep random places. Like she's a sleepy bean instead of it being a curse. It's just, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of modern plays on it, to be honest. I just can't think of any off the top of my head.
Isn't she in Wreck-It Ralph, the second one?
Yeah, because all the princesses are there with her.
Yes, she is, because I just looked and she's wearing a shirt that says Nap Queen.
I love it.
Well, with that, want to go to Mayhem?
Yeah.
I know we put the other two in schools. The king definitely doesn't deserve to be in school.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you put Sleeping Beauty? Talia.
I don't know. She seems like a good caretaker. Maybe that, or like maybe even like political rights. Maybe she could take a stand for the shit that happened to her. Yeah. She'd be a political teacher.
Insults 101. But she doesn't actually say any of the insults.
Mm-hmm. No, she's a very nice lady. She's actually super upset that like the queen's mad at her. She's super upset. She's just trying to be a good person.
I want the chef to be in the school, though.
Yeah, he'd be a good lunch lady. Or lunch man.
He can be the cook. We give him and his wife free housing, staff lodging. Yeah, but that's all I can think of.
Yeah, there's not a lot. I feel like their positions are fairly like predictable. Imagine being named Sun and Moon, though. What a vibe.
Related to Skull and Hottie and the Pokemon game Sun and Moon.
I was thinking of Sun and Moon from Five Nights at Freddy's, too.
All right, then. I guess with that, we'll start wrapping things up. Thank you to our patrons of Mondi, Mage, Ruby.
Hell yeah.
And I hope you guys are enjoying some of our Patreon content of the week early Archetype Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
I know we were a bit late for October specials, but hopefully we can get things smoothed out with life hopefully smoothing out. We're finally done with Harvest. Nice. Any chaotic news?
No. Chaotic is still very, very tired and trying to struggle and juggle a couple of jobs. So I very much apologize for In Case of Monsters Break Glass not having any episodes. I extremely apologize for Book Valkyries not having any episodes. I appreciate all of your patience with me. It's a very hard adjustment right now.
Just not enough spoons in the day.
Agreed.
So with that, Chaotic with the outro.
Ba-da-ba. Thank you for listening to the Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem podcast. Silver and Chaotic take you into the depth of the lore and discuss how these legends could affect modern-day society. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or almost any podcast service easiest to you. Dive into the depths of chaos with us every Wednesday, bar Silver and Chaotic not missing their scheduling, and consider joining the podcast Discord or Twitter following even more insider looks and even some D&D sessions. If you'd like some extra special inside looks or even want to be a guest on the show, consider helping us via Patreon. Your help makes such a big difference to us both. Until next time, Mythics, you never know what kind of mayhem we might get into.